What is up, everybody? It's Josh coming to you with another episode of the Affiliate Marketing Show. Please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest affiliate marketing news, tips, and trends. Once again, Josh, myself from OfferVault.com, the industry's largest and best aggregator of all things affiliate marketing. If you're looking to succeed in this competitive industry, you got to get hip to OfferVault.com. We also have Mr. Paper Call Adam Young, as well as the industry legend Harrison Gevirtz, as well as our very special guest today, Butch Hildebrand. He's the CEO. This is a new project, by the way, a new announcement I just saw. CEO of Everything Entertainment, as well as Ikonique Models, as well as the brand ambassador for LeadBit, an affiliate manager for Excel Medical, and head of business development for 24/7 payments. So Butch, I gotta ask right off the bat, how do you have time to do anything in your life?
I don't, honestly, and I'm learning this quickly, right? It's been a progression of things for me. This new role kind of came and kind of on accident, to be honest with you, but I was in Bucharest, Romania, and they said, "Hey, is anyone interested in an executive level role in Tallinn, Estonia?" And I was like, I like went on Google Maps or Google Flights and was like, "How far is it?" It's not that far, and I knew what the project was. So I had some backstory on that and came up and saw the structure of it, and interviews went well. So I guess I'm here in Estonia. Then as
Bird's
far
awesome. Do you love it? Gotta ask.
Yeah. So it's not snowed yet. And the weather is actually not that bad to be honest with you. But the old city is cool. The project I'm working on is actually really awesome. And yeah, we'll see. I have I'm going to Cyprus next week, and then I'll be in Bangkok for Affiliate World. But then I think December, January, when the days are really short, we'll see if I love it. But right now it's pretty good. So yeah, I mean the other things, they've either been long-standing, like 247 payments. That's Mark Tenori and Chris Branca. I've known these guys for a long time. On the payment side, Chris was an advertiser and Mark has been in payments. And so with this, it was just like I have a payments background, kind of flows easy. And when I'm speaking to people and they need mids, I just know where to send them. So that's nice. And with LeadBit, well, Mail Excel or Excel Medical, this is also new. I've been actually working with them for a few years, but they do, I think, a few $100 million a year with Excel Medical. And this is hormone replacement, male weight loss, male erectile dysfunction, female hormone replacement, and female weight loss. So I've just known them for a long time, and they've never really run an affiliate model. And I kind of was begging them for years, like, can we please do this? And they've been making really good money, and they kind of just now decided, let's see how this works. So that's Excel Medical, and then LeadBit's been awesome. It's been a bridge between CIS region, so Eastern Europe, former Soviet Union, and then what's happening in the West, so affiliate network, and it just all kind of flow nicely. It is difficult to keep on task if I'm doing something with what I'm here doing in Estonia, and then I have a LeadBit question, and then the next call is about affiliates and selling HRT, and then it's like, so my calendar is quite full, and I have to stay by it, otherwise I get lost.
So do you actually have any time that you're not spending working during the day? And if so, when is it and how much time is it?
So that's one of the reasons that I'm staying here in Estonia, is I'm +7 to the East Coast and +10 to California. So I wake up, I go work out.
The
And then
morning's your free time. It's like the opposite of life in America.
yeah. So really nothing starts until like 2 p.m. When Eastern Standard Time kind of wakes up and is getting moving. So my day is kind of already not done by then, but I have my 3-4 hours where I can sit and focus on things I need to get done. And then anything that happens after that is just like picking up the pieces, quick text or call or telegram or something. So I don't really, as weird as it sounds, I'm not really as busy as it would seem. And I think that's because I have a focused time in the morning where I dedicate, 3, 4 hours of just working and creating and thinking like, this is what needs to be done by the time the East Coast wakes up. And if I can continue to do that, like honestly, get a decent night's sleep. I'm in bed by 11:30 usually. And I get up at, 7. So I get my 8 hours of sleep. And by from 7 to, 1 p.m., it's plenty of time to go to the gym and screw around and do whatever. But it's, I guess that's my free time right now. We'll see how it goes. But
When I was 18, yeah, 18, I lived in Amsterdam for 6 months and I had the same routine where versus, I've never been a 9 to 5 guy, but the traditional 9 to 5 is you work 9 to 5 and then, you go to the gym, you go to dinner, you have freedom at night. It's like the opposite. And I would essentially chill. I'd wake up, go to the gym, do whatever I want, go have lunch, etc. And then I do some work too, but I had more like freedom because my Skype wasn't blowing up, my phone wasn't blowing up. And then come like 2, 3 p.m., like 9 a.m. Eastern time, sit down, grind until like 9. When I would eat dinner at lunchtime, America, and then just grind a little bit more. And it's like I actually love that. It takes a little getting used to, but it's worth it for sure. It's a cool routine you have.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it started. I went to Bucharest for AW Summit, and then it kind of was an accident. But I was buying a flight back to the United States or US, and it was cheaper for me to book round trip. And I was like, I really like Bucharest, and I was like, all right, well, I'll just come back here and work. And then it's kind of just evolved in the last few weeks to get me here to Estonia. So, but it is nice, like to have 3 or 4 hours where my phone is not blowing up. I can really like focus. So I know some people wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning and do the same, but it's brutal on your system if you're not built for it. So I still like to get up at 7, maybe 8 if I sleep in, and I still have a few hours of my time to dedicate to growing or learning or just getting creative on projects that I can play with.
So let's talk about growing. Specifically this new project that you're the CEO of, Everything Entertainment and Iconic Models. Can you tell us a little bit about what it is and how it works, as well as, I guess actually, let me ask you this first. Are you in Estonia for this project, right?
Yes.
Right. All right. So to piggyback off of what I already mentioned, some of the differences just between like how things operate in Estonia within that area of the industry versus like back here in the US when it comes to content creation, the creators themselves and all that.
Okay. Yeah. So the umbrella company is Everything Entertainment. Warehouse X is the actual content creation studio, which is heavy on cams. So it's a 24-hour a day. There's like 170 something cameras in this massive warehouse in Tallinn, Estonia.
I think someone hit me up maybe in the past about that. Do they have an affiliate program?
So they do, but it's
I
not.
think someone hit me up a long time ago because I remember like seeing that site and being like, this is interesting.
So what's weird is in 2000, I was working on a similar project in Panama, and we were going to buy an existing hotel and that had not been used for a few years. And we were like, this is going to be perfect. We're going to set up basically just a set or sets using the rooms for cam studios. So we're going to set up like 20 different, 30 different, 40 different sets so that OnlyFans girls could come down and create on these sets. And then they would stay in the hotel. This is our grand idea. And then probably moving this along in the grand idea, we also would have extra rooms in the hotel that people could come down and stay with their OnlyFans, dream stars or whatever, and party at the same hotel as them. That fell through, but I this is going back 4 years, and I was like, man, this actually could be cool. So the guys that own Warehouse X and Everything Entertainment, they have other interests. One of like they're doing the things. So when I came here, I looked at this and I knew about it, and I was like, okay, I want to see it, and came up, and it was like they had this massive warehouse. There's scenes all over. There's cameras everywhere except for the toilets. So you're showering, you're sleeping, if you're whatever. And I kind of thought about it. I was like, it's whatever. It's like voyeurism if you want. The cam girls are doing their thing. They're streaming to all these different platforms, which was kind of cool. And then I asked what agency they were using, or what agency they were using for like recruitment of like OnlyFans girls or whatever. And like, we don't really have one. We should make one. That's where Ikonique Models came. So I was like, all right, well, let's just build an agency where we can go out, speak to OnlyFans girls, give them the experience of coming to a place like this where they can create and stream all across with a different set and different people and meet this thing. And then Warehouse X is just like this warehouse is sitting there, and I'm like, how many models do you have coming through? We just had an event last week, which was funny. It was MILFX, so we had like porn stars here, and they're filming and creating and all this, and as wild as it sounds, I'm sitting there talking to them, and I was like, how do you monetize your brand? And they're like, we do porn. And I was like, yeah, I get that. Let's just step away from this. I mean, one of them had like, I think 1.9 million followers on Instagram. And I was like, okay, well, how are you making money on this? And she's like, oh, I just do adult. And I'm like, so you're not doing anything else with your 1.9 million followers? And she's like, no. And that's what kind of got me to, I was like, holy shit. Like, you have access to a lot of people who have massive followings, who probably want to make more money than they're making, and they just don't know how to do it. And so I was like, this to me is a perfect opportunity to go, let's talk about monetization. Let's talk about different things you could get into, whether they want to start a new brand or whether they want to, run a Nutra offer, or they, whatever, they already have these massive followings. So that's kind of where this went. So Warehouse X is what it is. Ikonique Models is going to be basically, if you will, a feeder program or an agency to help do the same thing for OnlyFans girls, because they're doing their camp shows or whatever, and they might have like, click my link here to buy my bikinis or whatever, but they don't really understand what it's like to be a true affiliate, and they have their own like organic traffic if they want. They just don't know how to use it. So that's kind of the project now, and the last few days have been ridiculously busy, but it's fun, and it's kind of crazy. It's like I'm telling my mom, I'm like, she's like, oh, how was work today? I'm like, oh, well, I mean, there was a couple porn shoots going on and whatever, and it's like, it's the craziest thing, but it's extremely professional, and I'm not like behind the, I'm not back in the cameras. I don't care. I have my office, but it's been super fun, and it's new to me. Being here in Estonia, but the adult side is not new. It's like I've been at these shows for years, so it's not a new thing. It's not crazy.
For sure.
I was
How would
waiting
you
to
say
see
that
if
the
I was waiting to see if
OnlyFans
Harrison had a question. Yeah, but it looks like he's
Well, I would
formulating
say
his thoughts.
I have not much experience in the adult world. A few years ago, I did help a friend that built an agency years ago, and there was not a ton of them. I'm a little
Yeah.
familiar with that business. I guess I would say, how would you say that this business is different versus like traditional adult, like, signups or whatever?
Um,
I mean, I guess it's completely different in terms of the content that works, but I'm just curious overall how it stands.
um, so I don't know that it's vastly different. What I don't think that many people in the adult space are doing is using their talent or the people that are sending, on their platforms. And now, I mean, I just had another one tonight. Talked to her, and I said, she just got here to Estonia today. Started speaking to her, and I was like, so, okay, so you have, I'm looking around like 100,000 followers. What do you do with this? And she's like, we're not built for this. We're not built to be like to monetize our just organic traffic. We're built to be cam girls or built to do porn. And I'm like, okay, there's the network within adult is pretty tight. And I think my challenge now is try to figure out ways to help, one, then two, then 10 really start to monetize themselves away from adult. And I say this because I have daughters, and I think it might be a moral issue for some people. They don't want to work in adult forever, and probably they can't. But they can use the skill set or use people that have the skill set to help them learn. So, the kind of idea with this is just to start building affiliates and affiliates for really any product on the planet and kind of have fun with it. And it's like the stable of affiliates I could build through 50 or 100 OnlyFans girls, I think is pretty wild. And then using that for really whatever I want to use it for. And Yeah, I
So
don't think it's too much different from adult. It's just the concept is different with from the warehouse, like with the cams and the 24/7. I mean, when I first walked in, I was like, holy shit. Like, I don't know if this is for me. And then I didn't see a whole lot, but I stood back and like I looked at the operations, it's like there's a lot that goes into it. Safety and security is one, like limiting the idea of people reaching out, like to make sure that the people you're bringing in are vetted and they're not being forced to come. And it's like there's a lot that goes into it. And yeah, it's been fun for the last few weeks. It's eye-opening. You walk in and there's like, oh, there's a 80-inch TV with porn on it. You're like, what am I doing with my life? But yeah, it's funny. So
that's just like a regular Tuesday afternoon for Harrison, right?
mixes of
Yeah,
porn.
something like that. But I'm like a firefighter.
Butch, I have a question for you. I don't know how old your kids are, but the question I guess is like, what would you say to people that are unsure how to like tell people what they do for a living if it's not like such a openly accepted industry? And also, like, you seem like you're a pretty open book when it comes to this stuff. Do you kind of shield the kids from it? Are they hip to it, or people like in your circle that you're not as open about it with? And how would you like kind of pass that along to someone else who might be listening who's also kind of in the same boat?
Gotcha. So my girls, one's in college and one is a junior in high school. So they've had phones for a long time. I'm quite certain I played Cards Against Humanity with them like 4 years ago, and I was like, holy shit! Like,
So you
wait,
knew what the
what?
game was
Like,
about? Oh
how do you
no.
know this stuff?
Right.
I do not want to be a part of whatever's happening in high school or middle school at this point. Um, as far as like introduction, even I had a professional meeting the other day and like, in a jacket and like whatever. And they're like, what do you do? And I said, I work in the adult industry. And as weird as it sounds, it's enough of a shock to them. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm not like a porn star, but and then it just
I
kind of
mean, you
breaks.
have you do have the look, man. It's a
You do
fallback.
have the body too. Yeah, you could swing it if you wanted to.
I
You
was
could
like,
manage yourself, man. You'd make some
I was
cash.
like, here we are. Yeah. It's so funny because I was like, so I say that and it kind of breaks the ice. And I'm like, I'm not like an adult, I'm like, I'm on the professional side of it. And then as far as like explaining this to my family, I'm like, listen, I actually learned it from a guy, um, probably one of the most successful people I've ever met. His name is Vito Marisi. He went to Indiana University. I went there. He graduated a couple years before I was there. But I got to know him, and he's really successful. And Vito, for the longest time, worked for Philip Morris, and he sold cigarettes. And I was like, okay, but he doesn't smoke, and he doesn't like really want people to smoke. And I asked him like, how was your moral issue with this, or what's your moral compass? And he said, well, the way that I look at this is adults are going to make adult decisions. If they're going to make an adult decision and choose to smoke, I want them to smoke these cigarettes. And when he said it that way, it's actually resonated with me. And it's like, listen, you're an adult. If you want to watch porn, watch porn. I just want you to watch what we're producing or what we're offering. If
You
that's what
almost
you're
said my porn, but then you realized the wording of that was a little off. I saw it in your face. You were like,
yeah.
I want you want to watch my porn. I mean, I want yeah.
You're gonna watch some porn. Watch this porn. Yeah. And then so that's it. But honestly, I kind of have fun with it. Like and before I used to tell people like, what do you do? I'm like, well, do you watch porn? And they're like, what?
You
to see what they
curveballed him,
said.
dude.
Just to see what they said, and they were like, I'm like, okay, well, if you do or don't, generally speaking, there's a video, and around the video, there's a bunch of ads. And they're like, okay, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. I'm like, bullshit. And I said, so around those, I said, I essentially sell advertising on adult pages, and those ads are some of my clients. And they're like, oh, okay. And they're like, I was like, I've sold like razor blades, and I've sold like male enhancement, and I've sold like weight loss. And they're like, oh, okay, this, I get it now. I get it. And I guess it goes back to it. Like, if you're an adult and you're making adult decisions, I don't care. I just want you to make the best decision that I can provide. I want you to choose me, right? So that's kind of the way I break it down. If they have any more questions, I'm like, you guys have your phones. You've already looked this up. And then just tell my girls, like, don't make it weird. So,
Yeah, that's cool. Don't make it weird. So switching gears here, I know you served in the Marines. So first of all,
Thank
thank you for your service. Yeah. Happy
ah,
Veterans Day,
ah,
belated. Um, I want to hear all about that. I'm fascinated by people that had that experience. I'm fascinated by what you were able to take from that experience that you apply to your life on a daily basis. Um, I've read some of the books, and I'm sure that paints like a very broad picture, but talking to someone who actually went through it is totally different. So, whatever you're willing to share with us about your experience, I had a couple questions here, like what led you to join the Marines? What do you still apply to your life on a daily basis? How do you feel about the concepts of extreme ownership and leadership? But I don't want to limit you to whatever you want to share. So, what was that like?
so um, I'll answer your questions, and I think this will probably be the best way to kind of describe it. So, what led me to the Marine Corps? I was a Division I wrestler at Indiana University. I was in great shape, and my college career had ended. Um, and September 11, 2001, two planes flew into two buildings. I was teaching kindergarten that day, and I'm looked up, and I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. And I was not teaching kindergarten as like an employee teacher. I was substitute teaching. I was still like kind of training and coaching a little bit because I had already graduated. And that happened, and I was like, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, but I was in really good shape. I mean, I was wrestled in the Big Ten, so I'm like, I should probably go do something. And I went down to the recruiting office on September 12th. There was no one was really there. It was all the services. There was one Marine. The guy's name is Staff Sergeant Van Hoy was there, Bloomington, Indiana. Walks in, and he's like, hey, you want to be a Marine? And Marines have this like sexy uniforms that they wear when they're recruiting. And I was like, maybe. I don't really know. I'm just kind of here to check it out. I don't really know what to say because nobody in my family had been in the military. And he said, you can you do some pull-ups? And I was like, how many pull-ups do you want me to do, man? Like, I don't even understand like at what level you have to be a Division I college wrestler in the Big Ten conference is like, it's wild to me. And I was like, yeah, how many you want me to do? And he said, well, let's see how many you can do. And I got out, I did like, I don't know, 20 or 25 or something. He's like, okay, you want to be a Marine? Maybe. I still don't know, but I kind of left with the idea like I probably want to do something. So that's what led me to it. I went, they said, do you want to be an officer or do you want to be enlisted? I really just kind of wanted a job. And I wanted to go as soon as I could. To be an officer, I was going to have to wait 6 to 8 months to find a seat in officers candidate school. So I said, what? I don't know the difference, man. Just what's the fastest? And they were like, well, you can be enlisted. I said, how long do I have to wait then? And they said, oh, about 3 or 4 weeks. And I said, 3 or 4 weeks versus 6 to 8 months, I'll do that. Maybe not the best decision. I made like half the money and whatever, but that was financially, but I really enjoyed my time. I absolutely loved being in the Marine Corps. I had a multitude of different jobs while I was in. And the reason was I went in as a computer systems administrator, and which was dumb because I was like I can run fast and shoot straight and I'm strong. And I'm like, why am I like carrying a computer around? This is the dumbest shit ever. But my job was overtaken by the United States Navy. And then I basically didn't have a job for a few years within the Marine Corps. So they just like whatever they needed something. They're like, here, you go do this. So I worked on like amphibious assault vehicles. I worked like security forces. I worked in interrogation. I worked in intel. Like I had a lot of cool jobs and absolutely loved it. I was in for a little over 10 years. I had deployments. I did, saw amazing things. But the best part about it is to answer your questions about leadership. I tell people I went to the best leadership school in the world, and that is the United States Marine Corps. And I really could say it's any service, but the Marines do it a little differently in that the rank structure is so solid and it's so like old school. Like I've had problems with this, as a professional now, when I'm like, if I ask you to do something, like, hey, can you can you send an email from so and so, and they say yes, I expect that it's done like now. And it doesn't always work that way professionally. So it's like, oh, and then I've come like, why didn't you? I thought you said you were doing it. They're like, oh, I'll get it done. I'm like, no, 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 no. If I asked you to do something, do it now. If not, I would have just done it. Um, so this like instant obedience to orders has really been hard for me to get over. But as far as leadership, I look at this and I was given a gift to be, I guess, relatively decent in athletics, and I went in with a college degree. So I automatically kind of assumed a leadership role while I was even in training. And then you get to meet people from essentially all makes and models, 18-year-old kids from the middle of Oklahoma who their English isn't great or they can't read, that well, or like I had one guy I served with in my recruit training platoon. He was killed in the initial invasion of Iraq. John Gifford's his name. He's from he's from Illinois, but I remember him because he was a gas station attendant, and he was like the oldest guy in our platoon. But he was a gas station attendant, had 3 daughters, and I think about him sometimes because we're fortunate enough to work online, and we kind of travel around, we have good jobs or whatever. Like this guy was a gas station attendant, and he was a father, and as crazy as it sounds, during recruit training, he was probably one of the worst recruits that we had. But he died United States Marine in combat. And the best gift that he could have given, and I'm guessing, instead of being a gas station attendant for his 3 daughters, is fighting on a battlefield, and he paid the ultimate price. And as weird as it sounds, like that's leadership. That's actually what you're looking for. You're looking for somebody who's going to just say like, I don't care about titles. I don't care about, compensation right now. If there's something that needs to get done, we have to do it. And it might be me, or it might be a team, it might be whatever, but we have to get it done. So I pull people aside quite often. In the last week, I've interviewed, and then had conversations with all of our employees, which is, I don't know what the number is. It's like 30 something just here. And there's a language barrier and they don't know who I am. And I'm like, who is this guy that's coming over and going to run the warehouse and whatever? I'm like, I tell them like my job as a leader is to make sure that you're employable, whether you're employable with us or after me. And that's what a leader does. They set the people underneath them up for extreme success. Right. When you get to like Jocko talking about extreme ownership, it's real. You have to own every facet of your life. It could be your diet, it could be your relationships, it could be your professional life, your workouts. You have to own them. Nobody's going to do them for you, right? And if you fail, it's really tough for me to hear people talk about failing. Like extreme ownership in the affiliate world is tough to find. They really like to own things when it's going well, They really don't like to own things when it's not. So you have people that are missing payments or whatever. They're like, well, it's not my fault. Well, it is. It is actually your fault. If you owe people money, you should pay them.
It's always your fault.
It's always your fault.
Yeah.
Always.
I was
And
going
it's
to
like,
ask, you mentioned Extreme Ownership, the book, right?
yeah,
I think it's a good time just to chime in real quick.
yeah.
Do you do you get down with like books like that? I'm always curious as people who have lived it and gone through it, like what their take is on other guys writing books. I'm sure it depends on the book as well, but let's just focus on Extreme Ownership by Jocko.
So a lot of people like I have a few good friends that are SEALs. In the SEAL community or the teams community, they don't like it. And they don't like it because they think he's kind of a sellout. Because they're like, listen, we live this way anyways. We don't have to go out and talk about it. We just do it. Um, I do respect Jocko. Like that book, I read it a long time ago, right when it came out, and I really got into it. Like it came out in like 2017 or 18 or something. I really got into it because it's the first time I'd heard like a SEAL talk about leadership outside of it. Since then, I probably, if I had to read it again, I don't know that I would go down the path, and I don't know that I would think the same. But there's a book by Stephen Kotler called Stealing Fire, which is absolutely fucking incredible, and it talks more kind of along the lines of like military leadership, but it also talks about like going to music festivals and doing fucking drugs. Like,
Okay.
but
So this is the perfect book for me. You said Stealing Fire?
doing fire, yeah.
All right, cool. I wrote that down.
That's a great book. Like Thrive by Ariane Huffington is a great book that I've read. And I think after listening to like Jocko, and Jocko was like when this came out, and I think there's like Gary Vee was dropping books at the same time. It was really rah-rah stuff. And I was like, I need, I don't need like, you gotta do that, I don't need that. I actually needed the opposite. Um, I didn't need to yell anymore. I needed to calm down. I needed
I
to
was
be
about to say something similar. I think also like when I read like motivational books and stuff like that, sometimes I want them to just kind of like beat the shit out of me. Like I don't need to be as positive and happy about it. Like sometimes shit's tough and sucks, and you just gotta grind through it, crush it, and then look
grinding.
back and be like, yes.
Grinding's good, and some people need external motivation to grind. Right? And a fact. Some people grind for no reason or with no sight set. They're just working. And it's like, man, maybe you need something else. Maybe you need to calm down, right? And take a step back and look at this. It's like that's why I really like Fire talks about like Silicon Valley executives going to they talk about the first chapter is about Navy SEAL, right? But then it goes into like Silicon Valley executives and going to Burning Man and doing Molly or whatever. Okay, now I want to know. Um, there's a guy who that I listen to quite a bit now, Alan Watts. He's like an old philosopher, not that old, but kind of old, and a lot of like house music mixes him into like his sayings, and I really like that stuff. Like I think the idea what Jocko has done has motivated a ton of people who've never lived that life, and it is cool. There's definitely a genre for it. A calling for it. People want to hear it. They want to hear like they want to see what's behind the cloak of we're Navy SEALs, right? They're fucking badasses. Like there's no question in my mind. These are the baddest people on the planet, and it is cool to hear it. But now it's like David Goggins and Jocko and like these guys are going out now. I don't need the rah rah as much anymore. I like historical facts, and I like people that are willing to help you think through things, not just act and do, but like sit back from a leadership perspective and say, listen, obviously, praise in public and reprimand in private it matters. Don't light somebody up or don't like throw them under the bus on a Telegram chat saying you're a piece of shit or whatever. Like, don't do that, right? You don't really
Now,
get any.
something that I've learned as well is like, have you ever heard of like the feedback sandwich?
No.
So like this is actually Adam taught me this. So like if you did something, I don't even have a fake example, but you essentially if you're gonna go and critique something or give suggestions or just discuss something that's an issue that's less than positive, you essentially your bread is positive reinforcement. So like you start up like, hey, really loved how you handled that client situation last week. That was great. But the way you reacted with the team when dealing with the conflict was a little unacceptable. Here's why. Da, da, da. But you know, another thing you really do great is this. So like positive, negative, positive, and that is something that I've used many times in business, and it helps a lot with like people, you know, like keeping them excited about whatever they're working on while you're kind of providing constructive criticism.
I mean, being nice helps, right? Like I say this all the time, like just be nice, right? Just listen. We are all going to make mistakes, and everybody knows this, right? I think leadership is your reaction to people's mistakes that you can like. Some you can coach through. Um, some honestly, like it's going to happen. And if you get pissed off about it, it's like, listen, as a leadership or as a leader, you have to look at yourself. Did I prepare them enough to make them make better choices when this mistake happened? If I didn't, then their mistake is as much mine as it is theirs, honestly. If I did and they make it, then if they make the mistake, then and I haven't corrected it, now I have to correct it. Now I don't want them to make it any more times, but I think that's part of maybe this extreme ownership is like leaders have to know like the people that you're working for, they're only as good as you train them. And if situations arise that you feel are a mistake, but you didn't coach them or prepare them enough at the beginning to get through it, you have to own that. That's your fault. I mean, that's just what
On
it
you.
is. Right.
So
Like,
Butch, how do you calm down? You mentioned, you're kind of more into calming down these days. I'm curious, someone who's had like the life path that you've gone through up until this point, what tactics do you kind of use yourself to calm down and get your head in the right place?
sauna. Sauna. I think
Sauna?
sauna.
Dude, we should get along. I sauna daily for
It's
30 plus
it,
minutes.
I go as hot as I can go, as long as I can go. And I have a rule. If I walk in and people are in there, I won't leave until they leave. But if I'm in there and
Love that.
people walk in, I'm staying. No, I'll be throwing water on the rocks. I'll make it miserable for them.
Fuck
I'll,
yes.
I'll, I'll make it as miserable. Listen, I'm dying too, right? um,
But you're a fucking ex-Marine. They're not, dude.
no, I'll tell you, I was with
Yeah, but he
this.
doesn't want those fucks in the sauna, dude. He wants to torture him out. He wants
I was
privacy for his reflection time.
so I was in the sauna. I was in the sauna with my buddy Mitch Aguiar, who you saw a video about 3 months ago of Sean Strickland absolute beating the living shit out of a guy, and it was Mitch Aguiar. He's one of my friends. He's a Navy SEAL, and Mitch Aguiar is one of the toughest people I've ever met in my life. He's a complete badass. Sean Strickland is different level when it comes to fighting. So it was Mitch, my buddy Jeff Gum, who Jeff was also a Navy SEAL combatives instructor. He's an ecom nerd now. He lives in Miami and he sells board shorts. So that's cool. And then my friend Antonio Mizraca, he works with like some military stuff. And then there was a guy in there, and he was like a little guy, and we went in and we're like, "This is hot, hot, hot sauna, like Russian banya, over 200 degrees." It was miserable. Um, and the guy was in there stretching, and I'm like, I got to get this guy the hell out of here because I'm dying right now. And so we started like kind of making small talk, we were like trying to make it hotter. And the guy was not leaving. And I was like, fuck it, I'm out. I can't. Like we all broke. So this is two Navy SEALs, a Marine, and then my buddy Antonio does like a lot of contracting work, like gray hat contracting stuff. So it was Apollo Anton Ono. That's who it was. So this guy, if you don't know who he is, he's a speed skater. He's the most decorated male Olympian in Winter Olympics for the United States, I think, ever. That's who it was. And
Incredible. I just had to Google him. That's wild.
I was like, I'm such a bitch. I was like, speed skater just beat us. But yeah, we just like had a good chat with him, and he's like, I'm in here a lot. Like, I like it hot, but that's how I calm down. If I'm in California surfing, I do something physical every day. I go to the gym every single day, um, and I usually have headphones in, and I usually am not listening to anything but books. So, yeah, I guess that's it. Maybe mushrooms. Mushrooms help me
Yeah.
out too.
How often are you doing that?
So it's there's a new one out, Karma IQ. I don't know if you know Steve Howe. But Steve
Yeah, of
helped
course.
with Mabuka and Convert to Media, and then Mike Carey, who's with the so they have Karma IQ, and it's crazy as it sounds. It's these synthetic psilocybin. And I was like, oh, is it like lion's mane or some bullshit? No, it's real. And you can buy them, ship them, and it's legal and it's wild. So I do it's built for microdosing, but you can definitely macrodose if you want. Um, and this is probably once or twice a month where I'll take like a couple mushrooms and sit down and go for a walk and just try to like I don't know, just try to bring it down. I mean, we get wrapped up in work and stress and relationships and travel and all this craziness. And it's like some days you got to check out, and that's my thing where I can spend 3, 4 hours essentially doing nothing or drawing or writing or something. And then when I come out of it, I'm like, damn, I feel pretty good. So yeah.
So going back to Olympians, I saw on your LinkedIn page you do a lot of executive and athletic coaching and consultation. I guess I'm just curious to hear about how you got into that and what you find yourself most frequently talking to these people about in terms of like the advice you're giving them that you could possibly share with our listeners today.
Gotcha. So the Olympians was that was a kind of by chance. My ex-wife, who's like literally my best friend on the planet, was a two-time Olympian. So I was like, oh, I have not only do I have a girlfriend for the first Olympics, and then second Olympics was a wife. Um,
I won't
but I have
ask what her name is, but I'm curious, what sport did she compete in?
a platform diver. So
Okay,
she,
cool.
Oh, that's cool.
so so she, was living with it all the time, right? Like the stress of her and then her teammates, and then it was like okay, well then I got into coaching. Like I coach at Indiana University, so have like you're dealing with these people, and it's like okay, and then you would get out, and wrestling itself is a really small community. It's like the Olympians that are there's not that many US Olympians, but um just there's not that many spots for wrestling. And you start talking to them about like what happened after the fact, what happened when you're done wrestling, what happens, for the NCAA athletes when they don't compete anymore, and it's really a hard thing for them to see. Um, and I'll use myself as an example. From the age 5 until the age of 23, I was wrestling. I had coaches, I had athletic advisors or academic staff, I had like trainers. So I was like, everything was kind of told what to do. Like, you need to work out, you need to lift, you need to drill, you need to do this. And it's just like, okay, you don't really have that much time on your own to think. You're just perform. And it's a really weird world when you have all of a sudden time to think and act on your own, and you don't have somebody telling you what to do. I wasn't probably ready, which is probably another reason why I went into the military, is I was like, I don't know what to do, and nobody's telling me what to do, so I can essentially do nothing. Um, so this started at like going going back like on LinkedIn. I was reaching out to people like I talked to Mark Schultz. I got a thing today from Lee Kemp, and Lee Kemp's like 3-time world champion. And it's just having conversations with these guys about what they're doing, not necessarily athletically, but professionally, and honestly, like asking, how are you personally? It's a weird thing, but you go from people that are essentially moderately famous. Like my ex-wife, every 4 years was moderately famous. During the Olympics, she was someone. And then they come home from Athens or then Sydney or Athens, and she's just like going to the grocery store. Nobody knows who they are. The fighters are exactly the same. During fight week, they're famous. If it's just a normal Tuesday, they're not. They're really just not. And it's hard on them. It really weighs on them. And then from like executive level coaching that a lot of the people that I've dealt with is exact opposite of this. These people are brilliant professional. But they're not that tough. They don't work out. Maybe they don't eat right. Maybe they're like, I don't know, their relationships aren't great because they've been grinding and grinding and grinding as a professional. Like, man, you got to pull back. Like, I know that you want to make money. I know that you want to have a profession, but nobody's gonna, you're not really gonna get a whole lot done if you're dead because you've been working like crazy. As you have to pull back, and sometimes, as weird as it sounds, like talking to CEOs of massive companies or whatever is honestly like they're quirky and they're weird. And I'm like, dude, can you just relax? Like, calm the fuck down. Like, you don't have to, you're not selling me right now. Like, let's just have a conversation about normal shit. And in this time, it's afforded me the ability to meet some pretty awesome people and have conversations with them. And it's really just like, I get their story, they get my story, and I'm like, okay, cool. I was like, all right, you mentioned what do you do on a Tuesday? Like that, I ask that question all the time. Like, it's a Tuesday afternoon, man, and you run a $100 million a year company. Like, what do you do to relax? What do you do to make sure that your relationship's taken? How's your relationship with your God? How's your relationship with the gym? Whatever you're into. What do you do to be a human? And I
Do you
think
ever
it's
land on any like actionable things that you tell them to do?
Yeah, I tell them almost they have to get really, really raw with themselves first. And I don't know how to explain it other than the one way I've done it. I have a friend, Marco Guarcino. He runs OfferVault. He's an Italian guy. He's like 24, 25 years old. Super, super, super successful. But he's like a child to me. I love him. He's just like a child. And he said, but he's like, Butch, I don't know. Like, I working. And I said, Marco, let me give you the story that I've done. I've told this to so many people and it works. And he's like, I said, go into a room and remove all light, remove all your clothes. Like, I want you to just sit there. And he was like, okay. And I was like, don't have your phone. I don't want any sound. I don't want music, nothing. He's like, okay. And he goes, well, how long do I do it? I said, you'll know. You'll figure it out. I said, you might start crying. You might get horny. I don't really know what's going to happen. Honestly, I don't really know what's going to happen. I said, but you have to start asking yourself some pretty deep questions. And are you happy? Do you feel like you're successful? Do you feel like there's areas of your life you can improve in? How's your relationship with your parents or your loved ones? What's your family look like? And I said, here's a list of like 15 to 20 questions that you should probably ask yourself in some capacity in there. And I said, and you'll be there until you're not. And he was like, what do you mean by that? I said, well, you'll know when you're going to leave, when your time to leave. You can meditate. Sometimes you can meditate for 3 minutes and you come out of it and you're like, okay, I'm good. Sometimes you might sit there for 15 minutes and like you can't even get there. And so I was like, you need to do something to stress your body, not stress your body, but stress your mind and get really raw with yourself. I said, you're sitting in a dark room with no sound and no light. You can't see yourself. You can't see anything. You may break down and cry. You may laugh your ass off. You may remember a story from, when you're 8 years old and it just pops in your head and you're dying laughing. Like, but do it. And the actionable item is like, when you come out, sit down and write. Sit down and write for 10 or 15 minutes about what you think you experienced, and then do it occasionally. If you're having a rough time at work or having a rough time in relationships, go back in the room and do it. And then keep them to yourself, but compare what you wrote when you left. And then you're going to look at the growth or the lack of growth that you've had. If you get out and write the same thing 6 months later, well, then you're not doing anything to predict or to grow to, I don't want to write about this anymore. You're not doing anything to get better. So then you need to then evaluate, listen, I said I needed a better relationship with my family. Okay, when I come out 6 months later, I need a better relationship with my family. All right, then what are you doing in the last 6 months, homie? Like then that's what you need to focus on. take this and go, I said it 6 months ago. I said it again today. So 6 months later, or 2 weeks later, whatever you want to do it, you need to start now. The first time you do it, what's going to happen is you're going to start doing some things. We can't correct ourselves all the way through, but you're going to start doing some things, and you go, 6 months ago, I wrote this down and I didn't write this anymore. It didn't even come to my head. Well, that means you've corrected it or solved that problem, right? And you have new problems that you have to solve. If you look at 2 lists, and I'm using 6 months, but it could be 2 weeks.
Do you feel the line between like coaching and consulting, like you're kind of describing now, and therapy is blurred quite a bit?
It's very blurred, and this goes into my anti-guru shit. Like,
Well, yeah, so this is a perfect transition. We joke on the show with Harrison that he's a marketing guru. He hates it, and we only say it because he hates it. So I saw on your LinkedIn profile, global business anti-guru. So what do you mean by that?
yeah, my problem is with it, if people are going out and teaching these courses, right? But yet maybe they're not doing them themselves. I have a real problem with that. The things that I talk about are things I've done. I probably have never written them down. I've just done them and been like, here's something that I've done. And this is, you asked about actionable items. Like, this isn't something I'm making up. This is shit I do. I don't know where I learned it. I just know that if I go in and get really raw with myself, and it could be weeks later, if I do the same thing and I write the same shit down, then I haven't done anything in 2 weeks to fix it. Um, my anti-guru thing would be somebody who sees something like this and then wants to go out and sell it, right? And go out and try to monetize it and say like, this is the most amazing thing. If there's no magic pill, there's nothing you can take to really heal you. And I don't like, people that go out like, listen, if you're actually an expert, you don't need to tell people you're a guru. You don't need to tell people you're an expert. People just know. The anti-guru thing is like the guy that's like selling the sales course and like, you're gonna whatever. I'm like, bro, come on. No, you can't sell the course for $2,000, or you're doing this
$1 million on Fulfilled by Amazon in 13 minutes.
this the elite level masterminds, and like elite level, if they're elite level, you wouldn't be selling spaces in them. You wouldn't. If it was an elite level mastermind, no one would even know it was happening. You see what I'm saying? Like an elite level mastermind would be a group of 10 people in a room who just decided to get together and say, we're going to do this shit. We're not charging anybody. And we're not really even bringing anything out. This isn't a sellable item. This is a true mastermind in which 10 people sit down in a room and go, you guys want to fucking make some money? You want to figure some shit out? I think that's awesome. I understand the idea of a business and selling things. I just don't like when people go out and be like, I have cracked the code on sales. I'm like, bro, no, you haven't. That's what I'm saying by anti-guru. But it's not only that. It's like I probably wrote that. I wrote that a few months ago. I think I was like probably looking at like Instagram influencer girls with like beautiful asses, and they're like, everyone does the same ass workout. And I'm like, it doesn't work like that, man. Like, I've lived ways my entire life. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. So
Harrison, as a
I was
marketing
going to say he
guru
probably
yourself,
put that on his LinkedIn. I was going to say he probably put that in his LinkedIn from watching our podcast. He's like, this fucking guru asshole,
dude,
Harrison.
exactly.
I'm like, I get it. I hate him too.
Anti-hot girl on Instagram guy or something. Like, why? I actually did it to make them think, why doesn't he like us anymore? So they would come in.
Yeah, reverse
Like you more,
psychology.
right? It's the secret.
I know you're big on trimming the fat, not only on your body, but also with your.
I thank you for that. I knew it needed to be said.
That was so good, dude.
I was like, oh, we're
I
in a
am
cut right
I am
now.
a real host. I am a real host. Not only on your body, but with the people in your life, right? Cutting ties with people that lack vision and focus. When did you start doing that? And what would be like some advice you'd give to someone listening right now who definitely is aware they have a lot of people in their life that they could probably afford to cut out as well?
Gotcha. How long have I been doing it? A long time. right? I don't need more friends. I don't. I mean, I have a few guys that I trust, and I can pick up the phone at any time and call them. I think it's important to have that. Like, you need those people in your life, and if you don't have them now, you got to continue to search for them. Um, what I realized is when people that aren't giving value back, like over, in our world, you meet somebody 6, 7, 8, 9 times, and they just don't really make a difference to you, good, bad, or otherwise. It's like they're just it's just out here. I don't need to like go out of my way to help them or hurt them. They're just insignificant. And when it comes to like getting rid of people who, I always say, like, if they take more than they give, um, I just get tired of being around them. And you have to evaluate people on this. And people change. It's like you might be somebody friends with somebody for 3 or 4 years who seems like an amazing person, but then after a while, you're like, actually, they're not. They start taking, or they're not telling the truth, or they're whatever. It's like, you don't need those people in your life. Um, go back home, go back to your group of people that you trust and love, and have shared hard times with, and good times with, and ask them. Like, I always say, like, you're like, oh, this guy's amazing. I have a business with him. He's amazing. Okay, is he? Like, question yourself, is he? And like, would he hang out with you and your friends from high school? Like, you're from Cleveland, right? Like, what high school did you go to?
I went
In
to
Cleveland.
Orange High School.
So your friends back at Orange High School, you have your level of success. They have their level of success, but maybe some of them don't. But it was like, Johnny was like the guy who smoked across the street growing up, but he's cool as shit. Just like, nobody's gonna hang out with him. And it's like, this guy's a super professional person that you meet. Would you like to hang out with your friends from high school? Would this guy fit in? Um, and it's like, maybe not. Like, why? Like, that was a part of your life that I could have, that I could say, like, these are my friends. Um, and then also your old friends, are they going to fit in with your new life? You're going to have, like, if you look at like a diagram, so, what is that, Venn diagram, right? Some people are going to fit in both. Those are your people. The rest of them are just outliers. Like, get rid of them. I don't need to be mean to them. I just don't need them in my life anymore. And I don't need a bunch of friends. I don't need a bunch of people influencing me, good, bad, and otherwise. I need a few solid people that I can count on. And for other people, I want to be a good, solid person that they can count on. If I have a group of 10 to 12 just killers, like, what else do I need? Like, what else do I need? Um, not that I don't want to go party with them or go to a festival with them or whatever. Like, it's cool, but it's like, especially when it comes to business, like, I'd like to keep the circle small, um, and count on the people that I know have been tried. They've been there and they've done it and they've been broken. I think, especially in the affiliate world, if you're dealing with people who have just always been this massive success and they've never been broken yet, that's a red flag to me. I like to see a little adversity in their life. And it doesn't necessarily mean professional. I'm like, personal adversity matters, physical adversity matters. Um, I, I just think getting rid of people sometimes, friendships or business relationship, they just run their course. Doesn't mean you need to hang on anymore. And that's especially true for employees, right? If you feel like you're stale within your career, if you feel like you're not progressing, and you're not getting opportunities to be better, and they've stopped coaching you, and they've stopped trying to train you, and stopped trying to make you more employable now than you were when you started, and that's probably time to figure out a new path. And it doesn't mean that you can be mean about it. It just means your time there is done. It's time to move on. And so that's the trimming of the fat, right? Like, you go to work for somebody for 3, 4 years. I tell this story all the time, and it actually, I lose my mind about it for people. And it's like, okay, you're 22, you graduate college, and you go get a job. You don't know really what you want to do, but you go get a job, and you're like, okay, I get my first job. I'm making a little bit of money. I have like a girl or a guy that's like, we have a relationship. They're like 25, 26. Like, we get married because everyone else is getting married. And then it's like, okay, I'm still in the same job. But then you're starting to accumulate things. You're getting a car, you're getting a house, maybe you're having some kids, 32, 33. It's like, oh, okay. And now you're starting to climb this weird corporate ladder and you're making good money. And, and then one day you wake up and you're 45 and you're like, fuck, like my relationship sucks. My kids don't like me. I don't even like my job. I just go, but I have 20 years there and I'm making good money, but you feel just like underutilized and you have so much more to give. I think that at that point, it's like people, they've waited too long and they've gotten too comfortable. And I think that we can do a lot from a professional side to change that. And counting, asking people to challenging them to get better, not just fall into a company. Like there's been companies I worked for that I swear I was like, I haven't done anything in like 6 months. They're still paying me. I have friends. My friend Ben Hall. Listen, this is how crazy this guy is. He went to Miami. No, did he go to Miami? He did go to Miami. So he went to Miami. And
Miami of Ohio, for everybody listening.
Ohio.
We talked about this before we started recording. That's where I went. Butch is from basically right where the college is. So the better of the Miamis, for everyone who's wondering. Go ahead.
He sells like medical devices. And the last time I was with him, he's like, he does quite well. And he goes, yeah. And he said, I'm gonna get another job. And I was like, oh, well, like, are you leaving your job? And he's like, no. He's like, I'm just interviewing for more. And that's why. He goes, listen, the game, I can get in there for three to 6 months. They don't even know what I'm doing. And my previous job, it was like, it's so easy that I could just keep going, and I'm like, wait, what? So he's getting more jobs and just getting the first 90 days or 180 days out, collecting 2 paychecks or 3 paychecks sometimes. He goes, ultimately, they're going to fire me. But the first one I'm so good at, I just keep it rolling. And I'm like, what? And that's my problem with like the world that we don't live in. Ours is performance-based. You have to work. But there's a lot of people out there that get in line with companies and they just hang on for, 10, 15, 20 years. And they're just like, then when it comes time to being creative or being productive, or they want to go do something that's challenging or hard, they don't know how to do it anymore. And they're scared to death, right? I mean, they're really scared. So I think that's it. Start young and challenging each other, challenge your friends to be better matters. If you have a friend that's lazy, like, dude, get your shit together. It's okay to say that. And how can I help you get your shit together? I would love to do that. Like, how do we do something together? How do we create together? How do we build together? Right. And then try to understand their passions and spark some creativity and see where it goes. I promise you, like, these masterminds are wild, right? But if you put 15 of the smartest people of your life in a room, and the reason for them being there is just to have a conversation with the other 14 people that I think are the smartest people in my life, there is no way that room fails. It's impossible. It doesn't matter the product or service or whatever you're doing. There's no way that room fails, right? And then it's like, okay, I mean, I've said this before, like, I'd love to do that. Like, what do you want to do? Like, let's start a business. What do you want to business? What kind of business? I don't know. But if you have the 15 smartest people you've ever met in your life in the same room, it won't fail. It's impossible. That's a mastermind. Not like, hey, I'm going to charge you $11,000 to come to a resort and get drunk. Although that's a business in and of itself. That's like, I like that shit too.
Yeah.
Not true to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, Butch, I'm not just saying this. I mean this. This is like one of the best episodes we've ever done, man. You're awesome. I love all the info you shared with us. Definitely would love to have you back in the future. Appreciate you staying up late with us from Estonia. For myself, Josh from OfferVault.com, the industry legend Harrison Gevirtz, as well as our very special guest Butch Hildebrand, CEO of Everything Entertainment, Ikonique Models, brand ambassador of LeadBit, affiliate manager for Excel Medical, and head of business development for 247 Payments. Let's make that paper. Let's make that dough. This was the Affiliate Marketing Show. We will see you next time.